Hi guys, thank you for stopping by once again. This is House of Living Stones, and I just quickly want to highlight 10 things that you should put, or 10 things that should be in your graduate application CV. 10 things that should be in your application CV or resume. Please take note that whatever I say on this channel regarding graduate school applications are things that I have first-hand experience and knowledge in, from having helped a number of candidates to get into the schools of their choice, with funding over the years. And I've worked with a number of candidates who have gotten into schools all over the world. So this is good knowledge, good stuff that I'm putting out here, and I hope that it helps you too. If, however, you need my professional services, paid for professional services, you can always contact me at houseoflivingstones@gmail.com. But if you follow some of my free pieces of advice on this channel too, you should be able to get by on your own. So let's talk about the 10 most important things that should be found in your graduate application CV or resume. The first thing that I'd like to say, and that I always try to get candidates to understand, is that the school's website is your friend, is your Bible, is your encyclopedia, is your guide, your map for graduate school application. No matter the number of applications you've done before or the schools that you've applied into, whether you've gotten into them or not, once you start another application, make sure that you make the school website your friend. The instructions on the website are your guide. They are going to get you into the school once you follow through with them. So it's important for you to stick to the instruction on the school's website. No matter what any other person is telling you, stick to the instruction on the school's website. Now let's go into the 10 things. The first thing is your bio or profile. I often advise candidates who do not have any prior work experience or who have just come out of school that you do not need a bio. You do not need a bio or a profile. But if you have some bit of experience, say 3 or 4 years, you might put a bio. Or if you have even little experience, but that's very varied and, with some depth or some, variations, like if you've done a lot of things within a short time, you can as well put up a bio or a profile. Now, most people mix things up. What you have in your bio profile is not to talk about maybe your skills, or to talk about your age, your sex, or your place of birth, or some other irrelevant things. I usually advise candidates to have 3 segments or 3 sentences in their bio. The first sentence should tell us where you're coming from. The second should tell us what you're doing, and the third should tell us where you're going. It should essentially tell us where you're coming from. You put the number of years that you've practiced that thing for. You tell us what exactly you've done. You can't just say you're a lawyer with a firm. Tell us, have you been doing have you been doing solicitor work? Have you been doing advisory? Have you been doing litigation? Just something of the sort. So tell us where you're coming from. Your first sentence should, for instance, read something like a litigation lawyer with 4 years practical experience in corporate commercial litigation. That's good enough for the first sentence if that applies to you. You could say something like a multidisciplinary lawyer with 5 years hands-on or practical experience in labor law advisory and litigation. An intellectual property law specialist or an intellectual property lawyer with 10 years of practical experience in intellectual property advisory, licensing, and litigation. That should do. So if you're in another field, you should be able to find a way to structure it. That's the first sentence. The second sentence should tell us what you've done. For instance, proven record in preferring the most applicable solutions to clients' legal challenges, and exemplary teamwork ability. That should be something for your second sentence. Or ability to work in teams of diverse people with a track record of excellent output. That could be something you put as your second sentence. I'm trying to avoid giving absolute statements or trying to say, oh, this is perfect, that is perfect, so that you don't just copy word for word. I always try to avoid that in my graduate application videos because I don't want you to copy me. I want you to be original. So you could adapt that. Tell us where you're coming from, and tell us, what you have done, your proven abilities, your track record. And the third sentence should tell us where you're going. So you could say specific interest in intellectual property law, data privacy, or specific interest in corporate and commercial law, or international trade and investment law. So your specific interest should be related to the field or the program that you're applying into, and that will be your third sentence, your specific interests. So that should be your Bible. The second thing that should feature in your CV or resume, your graduate application CV or resume, as a matter of importance or compulsion, is your education. Now, depending on what the instruction on the website is, or what you're gunning at or gunning for, it could come after your work experience or come before your work experience. But those two things should come one after or one before the other. So let's say your education is coming first. If it's a program wherein they need proof of your education in that line, or like a basic knowledge of that program, you could put your education forward. Or if you do not have much experience that speaks to your ability to conduct that program, you could put your education forward. Or if you're fresh out of school, your education could come forward. So you put your education. Now, education is not just to tell us the school that you've gone to, but in your education section, you tell us the school, where it is, the location, the month when you started and the year when you started, and the month and year when you finished the program. Then you tell us the grade that you finished with. I usually tell people that if you made a second class upper or a first class, put it there. But if it's lower than that, just say, describe your grade and say with honors. You don't have to say second class lower. You can just say that you passed with honors. That's if you actually passed with honors. If you did not at all, you might not need to even mention your grade at all. So that, and then if you have a stellar grade, you could make it your first sentence to describe yourself as a stellar candidate. You could put O in the top 10% or in the top 1% of your class. Then you put your extracurricular activities. If you were president of a society or of an organization, or if you held a political, an elective, or an appointment, describe it as well under your education. Those are the things that you did in school. Then you tell us, okay, the modules that you've completed that are related to that course that you're pursuing now for graduate studies. And if you add, stellar grades in any of those related modules, put it as well. And then you put your long essay, your thesis, the title, and the grade, especially if it's an A grade or a B grade. So you tell us that you conducted or completed a long essay or a thesis, and then you put your grade. You were graded so and so. These things are important because they lay a solid foundation for you as to where you're coming from education-wise. It's important. It gives the graduate committee a first glance at your educational pedigree, before they even meet you or assess your other documents. Please note that you don't write your resume or CV in first person. No, you describe it as if you were like an onlooker, like a third party, a third person, but don't use the pronoun he or she or I. You don't use those pronouns. You just describe it. Okay, completed a long essay titled so and so, graded so and so, or completed modules in so and so and so and so and so. So you use those types of sentences, not personal pronouns. Please take note of that. That's your education. Then your work experience. Like as in education, you tell us the name of the place where you worked. If it's a popular place, or if it's a reputable organization, especially something that can be googled up, or searched on the internet, at a few clicks, you can put a description. Okay, if it's something so popular that everybody knows what it is about, you don't need to describe. But if it's something that is so prestigious as well that you need to brag about it, you can also put a line, a top tier law firm, a top tier, a Greek organization or something of the sort. I'm so familiar with law, so the examples that are always coming to me are law. So you put something like that under it, and then you tell us the month and year you started working there, and the month and year that you finished there, and then you tell us the things that you did. Now, under your work experience, you don't necessarily have to list your roles, your former roles as is in your contract of employment, your duty. That's not necessarily what they are looking for. You can put that if it will look scanty, but what you need to put are your achievements. For instance, okay, you are a typist at that place of work. What have you done? Did you type a 10-page document in 2 minutes? You can put that. That's an achievement. Or did you type a document that saved the day at your place of work, or that won you an award? Put it there. Were you employee of the month or of the year for a certain month or year? You put it there. Did you develop a solution that addressed a challenge at your workplace? even if it was not part of your duties, it's an achievement. Put it there. Those are the things that we want to see. Then if you have been part of a team that did great things, you can also talk about what you did in particular as a member of that team. You can say something like part of a 3-man team that won so $1 billion judgment sum, for this certain person, something of the sort. So put your achievements, not just your roles and your duty, things that you have done that stand you out as a worker in that capacity. Put it there. Then you list your employments from the most recent to the oldest. The same thing for your education, from the most recent to the oldest. So I've told you that depending on what type of program you're applying into, if you've been out of school for a while, or you have like a track record of varied experience, your work can come before your education. But if not, you can switch it. Once you have read the instructions, you will know which one would work for you. Some instructions will tell you that we want to see your demonstrated ability, your track record, in this field based on things that you've done. So you could put your work first in that kind of situation before your education. The next thing that should come are your leadership and volunteer activities. That's the fourth heading, leadership and volunteer experience. Under that, you could list the things that you did as a volunteer. If you have an organization, an NGO, a charity organization, you can put it there, put the things that you do, the start month and year, and the end month and year. And if it's continuing, if you're still in that organization, in that role, you put till date. That goes for every other experience. And then you could describe it in one line under the name, what you do, what the organization does, what the NGO does, or what that role implies. Then you tell us what you did in that role or in that organization, the things that stand you out, not just what the organization does, not just the routine duties of the organization or the role. Or if you've been in a volunteer role, or if you started, a project or carried out like a community project, something, that's the place to put all those things. The fifth thing that should be in your CV are your memberships, your memberships and certifications. So if you belong to a particular organization or professional body, you put it member ICSAN. Then you put the year that you became a member Nigerian Bar Association. Then you put the year that you became a member. All those things. Member CIPM, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management in Nigeria, and you put or of Nigeria, and you put the year that you became a member. So you put all those things. You put your certifications as well. That's the fifth thing. The sixth segment should be your skills. So under your skills, you put something like your communication skills, your language skills, your computer skills, other skills. Usually it's advisable to have like 4 or 5 and to describe them properly depending on the length of the CV. Another thing is that you have to pay attention to the length that they have provided in the instructions. If they say give us a 1-pager, make sure it's a 1-pager. If they say give us a 2-page document, make sure it's 2-page. If they've not given you, a page number, just make sure that you put in everything that you can in that document that puts your best foot forward to the admission committee. So for instance, communication skills, ability to communicate succinctly both orally and in writing. That could be a description. Then your language skills, you tell us, native Yoruba speaker, beginners French, English. You put your proficiency levels for all those languages. Then your computer skills, excellent use of Microsoft Office Suite. Then WordPress. I'm speaking about myself now. WordPress. I use WordPress very well. And what else do I use? Just put all those things. YouTube. Yeah, it's probably a skill. So you put all those things that you can. Canva. All those IT skills. You can put those things under your computer skills or IT skills. You can put all those things. And then analytical skills, you can explain it a little too, all those skills. Where there's no space for you to explain because of the number of the page that you have to turn in, you might not need to explain, just list out your skills. That's the 6th segment. The 7th segment should be your publications. You can arrange this whichever way you deem fit or whichever way, works best for the particular application. I'm just giving you a guide here. So the 7th segment is publications. So there are some programs that require you to be well published. And even if not, if you are well published or if you have 1 or 2 publications, put it in your CV. So here you put the title of the publication, the publisher, the link if it's online, if it's offline, you describe it, the edition, the journal volume, and all the other appropriate descriptions. Or if it's online, you can put where it can be accessed and where it can be, easily found by the admission committee member looking at your CV. So you put it there. That's your 7th section, publications. And the 8th section is your awards section, awards and honors. So there are some schools that require you to put that in your CV, and even if they do not, if you have them, put them, list them out. Your awards, the honors that you've received, list them out. Okay. Your 9th section would be your further trainings. So there you can list the online courses that you've taken, the short courses offline that you've taken, the trainings that are different from your education. Those are, short courses, maybe 1-day training, seminars, webinars that you've attended, whether certified or not. You can put them in your further training section. And the 10th section is your hobby. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, or a dull girl. Makes Jack a dull boy, makes Jill a dull girl. So make sure that you put your hobbies. Just 2 or 3 will do. Hobbies: swimming, reading, traveling, that would do. And of course, one last section, bonus section. You might not put it, but if you like, you could put it, because there might be another space for you to enter that, in your application. But one extra section that I often put for candidates, or that I advise candidates to include, is the reference section. So reference, that's the heading, and you can say available on request. Or if the program requires you to list the references there, list them there. And that is how to edit, review, or prepare your CV for graduate application. I hope that you find this easy, and if you would require paid help or review of your CV, like I said, you can always mail me at houseoflivingstones@gmail.com. I wish you success with your applications. Bye.